Welcome to SVG-TV News for Thursday, November 3rd, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Business leaders from the private sector today went on a tour of the Argyle International Airport site. The event was organized by the Chamber of Industry and Commerce as a follow-up to last weekend's luncheon, where the business leaders were urged to be a part of the capacity building for the international airport. Today's tour gave these leaders the opportunity to see how best they can position themselves to be in line to take advantage of the many opportunities to be derived from the operation of the airport. Nolisha has more in this report.
Near completion of the Argyle International Airport, the Chamber of Industry and Commerce have gathered its members on site to get an update of ongoing construction and to determine how best its members can prepare themselves to take advantage of the opportunities that will be available with this major project. And according to them, they are impressed. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce continues to play its part by getting its members involved in business development and maximized opportunities available. Earlier today, several persons from the business community were taken on tour at the site of the Argyle International Airport, where they got the opportunity to look at the progress of the project thus far. When asked about opportunities that will be available to the business community once the airport becomes operational, Executive Director of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Tony Regisford, said the opportunities will be endless.
Well, I mean, the airport is a catalyst potentially for economic growth. So the private sector depends on the performance of the economy. If the economy is doing bad, then the private sector does not do well. We're not saying that the airport is going to be the panacea for all the ills of the economy, but we have to look at it as one of the things that can possibly help the economy to improve. So from that standpoint, the Chamber obviously has a very keen interest in the commercial activity that an international airport can generate.
Regisford says a lot of dialogue are ongoing behind the scenes to strategize the way forward to attract foreign investors here once the international airport becomes operational.
The area that we haven't looked at and we are looking at now is how do we bring investment, how do we attract investment to St. Vincent, in very much the same as how we improve exports out of St. Vincent. So the Chamber is going to be a lot more active in doing that. We're going to work very closely with agencies like Invest SVG and the public sector agencies that are responsible for trade and trade facilitation. We are actively playing a more meaningful role there. It may not be visible to people, but believe it or not, we're having a lot of dialogue, we're doing a lot of planning. It's tedious work, but it's being done.
Meantime, most of the persons who participated in the tour said they are impressed with the progress thus far and that they are looking forward to its completion.
The remaining of the business community, I think, intentions, maybe a little bit waiting to see if it really is going to happen. I can tell you that St. Vincent still is ready because we are offering tours. We actually prepared for the tours 3 years.
Do you think that the business community on a whole is ready for what comes with the operations of an international airport?
Well, I think that's left to be seen. I can't say for myself. I think it's definitely all depends on how much traffic we actually see coming through the airport. And I think, we have had a lot of time, a lot of notice in terms of, knowing that an international airport was coming. So I think, we really shouldn't have any excuses for being prepared. But I think it's a new experience for us and the country. So I think only time will really tell whether we are really prepared for this new dimension in our country.
Compared to what this site looked like before we ever broke ground, I am impressed by the amount of work that has been done on just a construction level. For me, what I was happy about was to hear some of the plans that Ms. Jennifer was talking about for actual private sector investment, because my concern is, yes, we're making preparations as a private sector, but we need some more actionable data. What exactly are we preparing for?
Nolisha, The Evening News.
Prime Minister Dr. Rav Gonsalves has indicated that plans are in the pipeline to improve the ease of doing business here in SVG. During a recent parliamentary hearing, The finance minister made an appeal for a more systematic way to efficiently register lands and spoke on the ease of conducting business here, specifically in regards to properties and companies. The Prime Minister noted that there are underlying issues that affect the ease of doing business in this country, adding that it is often a challenge to obtain important documents and that there needs to be a solution to mitigate these issues.
You have problems with lawyers, you have problems with banks, financial institutions in terms of the pace at which they do things, and of course, we need to have a better system of land registration. I want to say that there are a couple of times when we have moved to get some things done and we never get them fully ahead. We have dealt with the searches issue to try to help to put the books in electronic format, to ease the searches. But we need to have a cadastral survey for the entire country and do title by registration.
Dr. Gonsalves also used the opportunity to announce that he has received communication from representatives of the World Bank in respect of a proposal for the purpose of implementing policies and systems to curb such issues. He noted that the World Bank representatives are expected to visit SVG soon.
Ease of doing business has to do with how swift do we register plans, physical plans. Well, about 5 years ago we were number 1, we are number 4 or 5 in the world still. We do that well, comparatively speaking. Ease of doing business relates to how many documents do we need and how quickly do we need to proceed to get our electricity connection or water connection. What is the situation? How efficient is the port? And the customs, those are for us the central issues. And then, of course, the issue of how do we treat with bankruptcies.
Minister of Information and Technology Camilla Gonsalves says that the enactment of the Freedom of Information Act has been delayed to enable this country's legislation to be in sync with other Caribbean states. Minister Gonsalves made this statement in response to a question in Parliament put forward by opposition Senator Zita Barnwell over what she deemed as a delay in the enactment of the Freedom of Information Act. The Information and Technology Minister said that this country is already ahead of other countries with such a legislation. He explained that with the emergence of the European Union funded harmonization of policies legislation for African, Pacific and Caribbean countries, of which the Caribbean leg was launched in Grenada in 2008, it was realized that Caribbean countries needed to have more synchronized laws.
After that 2008 meeting in Grenada, it was agreed that HIPCA would produce a suite of ICT-related legislation for eventual adoption across all the 15 beneficiary countries. That's all the independent CARICOM states plus the Dominican Republic. The suite of legislation, HIPCA legislation, includes both a harmonized Freedom of Information Bill and a Data Protection and Privacy Bill. In 2013, this is after the 2008 meeting, in 2013, the Ministry of Legal Affairs received substantially finalized versions of the suite of legislation from HIPCA, which was disseminated to the ministries with responsibility for information and ICT, because at that time, information and ICT had different ministers.
Minister Gonsalves reiterated that his administration is not being delinquent in the proclamation of the 2003 Freedom of Information Act, but they are ensuring that they coincide with legislation in other Caribbean states.
Expenditure for the year 2016 in the section related to the Ministry of Economic Planning, Sustainable Development and so on, page 147, says we will submit a suite of ICT legislation the Electronic Filing Rules and Regulations, the Electronic Communication Bill, Data Protection and Privacy Bill, Electronic Evidence Bill, Electronic Crimes Bill, and the Freedom of Information Bill to Cabinet by June 2016 for approval. So to suggest, as the question suggests, that there was some delay in enacting the 2003 legislation, in proclaiming it, it's quite clear from the beginning of the year that we said we would be bringing new freedom of information legislation coming out of the HIPCA harmonized legislation.
The Kingston Fisheries Center will soon be under new management. This was announced by Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves as he spoke earlier this week at a handing over ceremony at the Calico Fisheries Center. PM Gonsalves stated that he had engaged the Chamber of Industry and Commerce in order to find suitable private sector entities to run the Kingston market, but this has not produced results. The Prime Minister then announced that the Agriculture Input Warehouse will be managing the Kingston Fisheries Center and expressed confidence in the entity to manage the market with success.
In Kingston, I had asked the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. I put it out and said, let business people come and engage the Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And nothing has happened there. So we have decided, in accordance with a proposal put to us by the state-owned Input Warehouse, as from January, to transfer the management of the Kingston Fish Market to the Input Warehouse, which has very good management, and they will expand, of course, in relation to other areas in order to have the project, have the market properly run.
A training workshop on labor market information and its use in policy planning will take place at the e-Government Center in the Calico building from Monday, November 7th to 10th. The workshop is being organized by the CARICOM Secretariat under the 10th EDF project, which deals with the establishment of a labor market system for the proper management of the regime for the free movement of skills within the CSME. It will bring together stakeholders from various government ministries and departments and statutory bodies that are involved in the production, analysis, and dissemination of labor market data. The main purpose of the training is to provide the stakeholders with the necessary knowledge and understanding of labor market information and its use in policy and planning, and would also examine, among other things, key labor market and sectoral policy issues, sources of labor market information, and key indicators of the labor market, as well as training on the analysis of vacancy survey. The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Labor Market Information System, the SVG-LMIS, was established in 2010 and is currently administered by the Department of Labor. The workshop will commence at 8:30 a.m. on Monday. As a means of combating the scourge of sexual abuse against the youth of SVG, a group of concerned women has unified in order to develop strategies to protect vulnerable persons and push for making a change in the Vincentian society. One of the concerned citizens, Kahailia Beach, spoke with SVG Television and said her group intends to start a petition for changes in the legislation, particularly the age of consent, as well as making persons more accountable for their actions. Beach noted that the protection of vulnerable groups, particularly children, is of paramount importance for the development of the nation.
I want to start a petition to really demand that certain legislations be changed to protect our children. If we are serious about protecting our women and children in this country, then we need to stop dilly-dallying and stop paying attention to all the other nonsense, because this is important. If we have a nation of youth growing up thinking or feeling that they are vulnerable and not protected, and who are going through these types of traumatic experiences, we are raising a nation of damaged people who grow up to be dysfunctional adults. You know? Because like sometimes you see a woman, you see like she behaving a certain way. She might be drinking plenty, she might be smoking plenty, she might have a lot of guys. We don't know the cause of the behavior. Maybe the cause of the behavior is because she was molested as a child and her attitudes towards sex and men are significantly deviated.
Beach, a radio announcer and singer, noted that the focus of the group at this time is to work to make positive changes through their own capacity.
Do not believe at this time that whatever unofficial group that we have will be partnering with any entity at the moment. Because the truth of the matter is a lot of people feel as if these entities have failed them and feel that a lot of the entities have interference that does not necessarily make it a conducive situation for somebody who's going through this to go and speak to them. The truth of the matter is that a lot of things are lacking in St. Vincent, and people also have this concept or this mindset that if they go and speak with someone within these entities, that their business is going to be on the road. I don't know if this is from past experience that the persons may have had, but at this time we just want to do what we can unofficially within our own capacity.
Beach added that her group recognizes the limitations which exist in SVG and that they will do their utmost to make themselves available to persons who have suffered and are suffering from sexual abuse.
I think I want to be the one, me and my group want to be the one, at least you can turn to us and talk. Because talking helps. Speaking about it helps, and learning how to cope with it helps, and hopefully the most important thing is changing some parts of the legislation so that once the complaint is made, then regardless to what mother or whatever say, then the steps are taken and the child is removed from the home and so on and so forth. But right now I don't really think that happens. So I just want to be able to, or we want to be able to, just to be there and lend support to any person going through that.
General Secretary of the Unity Labour Party, the ULP, Julian Francis, has dispelled talks that it was his government which is responsible for the lowering of the age of consent. On his ULP Speaks radio program, Francis said the age of consent was never 18 years as being suggested, but was instead 13 years old until it was amended by the People's Political Party, the PPP, administration, led by Ebenezer Joshua in 1966, and the age of consent was then raised to 15 years.
That is Ordinance number 8 of 1966. That's the first time that was amended since the colonial days. So 7th of April 1966 is when the amendment was done to the ordinance, and it didn't reduce the age of consent. It increased the age of consent. When the amendment was done, the ordinance at the time before it was amended said the age of consent was 13. 13. And under the Joshua administration, this was before statehood, Statehood was 1969. This amendment was done under the Joshua regime in 1966.
Francis, who is also Minister of Transport and Works, said that persons who are guilty of having sexual intercourse with a minor can get life imprisonment according to Ordinance 8 of the law of 1966.
Shall be guilty of a felony and being convicted thereof shall be liable to imprisonment for life. Hear I just read it? Clerk of the Legislative Council passed the Legislative Council on the 7th day of April and written into law by the acting administrator on the 12th of April and signed by O.S. Barrow, Clerk of the Legislative Council. Joshua come along and the Legislative Council put this in and moved the age of consent upwards. So all of you who live on this myth that some politician had reduced the age of consent from 18 to 15, you don't know what you're talking about. This is the last amendment that was done to this subject matter.
The Ministry of Tourism, Sports and Culture will tomorrow host its second Tourism and Hospitality Career Expo under the theme Endless Opportunities, Discover Your Possibility. The expo, which will be held at the Kingston Methodist Church Hall from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., is specifically targeting students in the tourism and hospitality industry, as its purpose is to showcase the exciting and appealing opportunities within the field and to encourage students to choose tourism and hospitality careers. Those in attendance will have the opportunity to gather information about the 4 elements of the tourism product, engage in career chats with industry experts, and receive tips on CV writing and interview preparation. A wedding show as well as prizes and giveaways are also in store for persons attending the expo. There would also be displays from 28 stakeholders, which include Exquisite Designs, Bamboo Spa, Going Places Travel, Mustique Airways, Grenadine House, and Beachcombers Hotel, just to name a few. 6 persons were on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2016, presented with hundreds of dollars in cash, having been identified as winners in the Digicel Mega Promotion. The 6 are Marissa Backus of Park Hill, Denika Gawe of Canawan, Junette Warner of Vermont, Omaro Aline of Camden Park, Caroline Dabrio of Connery, and Janelia Macbeth of Myro. 5 of the Digicel customers all walked away with $500 each, with the exception of Janelia Macbeth, who was rewarded $1,000 cash, having won 2 weekly prizes. The Digicel Mega Promotion Text Competition, which was launched on October 4th and will run until November 30th, gives all Digicel customers, both prepaid and postpaid, a chance to win up to $20,000 in cash. Digicel's marketing manager, Daniel Cupid, congratulated all the winners, noting that the company remains committed to rewarding its customers in very tangible ways, explaining that very soon they will be rolling out a very exciting and rewarding Christmas promotion.